20 years ago, I asked you, is it time to break up with Sézane? And that video was quite controversial at the time, but I feel like in 2026, that question is more relevant than ever. Today, I want to do something that I haven't done for a long time, and that is just sit down and chat with you about the current state of our favorite brand, the brand that inspired many of us to elevate our style, our everyday, inspired me to start this very YouTube channel 5.5 years ago. A brand that at the moment is receiving increasing levels of negativity, criticism, and controversy online. So if you're not in the loop about what's been going on with Sézane recently, this is the video for you. Or if you are and you just want to hear other people's opinions on the matter, I know personally this is one of the reasons I'm making this video, is to hear what you guys have to say, what you think about what's currently happening with Sézane. So don't be shy. Let me know in the comments down below. But let's get straight on into it. Before we start, I do want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, my favorite brand to work with on this channel, a brand I've been working with for a number of years now, and that is of course Linjer. I've been collecting Linjer jewelry for probably 3 or 4 years now, and I'm slowly building up my everyday stack, and I have 3 new items to share with you that I think you're really gonna love if you're into jewelry like I am. The first is another bracelet. I've been working on my bracelet stacks for about a year now, and I have some that I wear, I switch out and I wear at different seasons, times of year, but I have 3 or 4 that I wear every single day and I don't take them off. So my latest pickup is this gorgeous fine dainty bracelet. I wanted something that was a lot finer to contrast nicely with my slightly chunkier bezel set diamond tennis bracelet that I have also from Linjer. I wanted something that was the thin bracelet to that thicker one, and this one suits that perfectly. It's got some prong set diamonds in it, but it's very subtle and dainty. So I really like the different textures and thicknesses in a bracelet stack. So I thought it was the perfect addition. The second new item I have to show you are in my ears already. They are these diamond studs, and the reason I chose these is because they're slightly bigger than your average diamond stud, which I like. I like something a little bit more fancy, but they come in different sizes. So if you want something smaller than this, these are the 5mm as an example, and you can see how they look on my ears in comparison to my other piercing. I'm wearing them in my second piercing, my second lobe piercing at the moment, but you'd obviously wear them in your first piercing, but I like to wear them in a second. I like a little dangly earring in the first, and then a smaller or a stud earring in the second. I like the way that looks and kind of plays against each other. The earrings I'm wearing in my first piercing are also Linjer. These are some of my favourites. I've had these for a while now. We'll also leave those linked down below. But the diamond studs come in different sizes. These are the 5mm, but you can get smaller ones. I think you can also get different shapes. These are the round, but I think you can get some different shapes. So they have loads of different options. If you're looking for a classic pair of diamond studs to add to your collection, would highly recommend looking at Linjer. And then the final piece, I delved into their pendant section on their website, which is a section I haven't really explored up until now, but I wanted something that I could wear on my fleur necklace, which is also from Linjer. One of my favorite necklaces is this beautiful petal chain textured necklace, and it looks fantastic on its own, but I wanted a small, really subtle pendant that I could sometimes wear on it as well. And I saw these birthstone pendants. This is obviously my birthstone, which is garnet, so it's a really nice burgundy colour, on the website, and I really liked them. Again, 14 karat solid gold with a garnet stone in the centre. You can get them in all the different kind of birthstones, and I just like how subtle it is. You could even put this, because it's a little pendant, you can take it off, you could put it on the end of a bracelet, you could put it on an anklet, so you can mix and match and kind of play about with it, which I quite like for a birthstone piece of jewellery, that I can use it in different ways. So those are my new Linjer pieces. I hope you like them. Let me know what you think. Of course, I have a discount code for you, which will get you a special offer if you do make an order. I will pop a web page down below with all of the pieces I own from Linjer, my whole collection, so you can see what I really rate from the brand. As I said, I've had these pieces for years now, and I wear them every day, and they definitely stand up, and I love that they are solid gold, and I love that they do lots of different styles. I feel like they're adding some new styles recently, which I'm really enjoying. So where has this controversy with Sézane come recently? Now, obviously over the years, I think especially over the last 3 or 4 years, we have been increasingly talking about certain factors with Sézane. The quality is going downhill. The drops are increasing, rapidly increasing in number. What was once quite a slow fashion brand is now much more reminiscent of a traditional mid-range fast fashion brand with how much they're releasing. Lack of diversity with their modeling is something, and their influencers is something that's come up in the past as well. But what specifically has sparked this recent rise in criticism, because those comments have been around for a few years now, but over the last even 3 weeks there's been a lot more criticism online of the brand. And it really started, I think, about 3 weeks ago now, when they first started advertising their 20 years of archives, special archives drop, special archives release. And I'm going to read the email they sent out to you in case you missed this. So they sent out this email on, I'm not sure, I think it was about the 19th of July, so only about 3 weeks ago. 20 years of archives, they headline it. Vintage was Sézane's first language. Our story began with pieces discovered and reimagined, long before our own creations became pieces worth passing down in their own right. 20 years later, as a new chapter prepares to unfold at the end of August, we invite you to a special legacy event, the 20-year Archives for Demand, a unique opportunity to discover the last remaining pieces from our past collections, along with a selection of iconic creations that will no longer be available in their current forms. Behind every piece is dedicated craftsmanship worth keeping at reduced prices. So this was kind of a big deal for Sézane. They've never done anything quite like this before. To start off with, it was on a Tuesday, so this dropped. The Demand Archives, the 20 years of archives, dropped on Tuesday the 21st of July. And if you're familiar with how Sézane works, they always drop their collections, whether they're new or old, on a Wednesday or a Sunday. So it felt a little bit different, a little bit exciting, more unique, special, one of a kind that it was dropping on a Tuesday. And obviously we were being promised really old pieces. They were going with this 20 years of Sézane kind of vibe. So we were kind of hoping for pieces from really early collections that might be dropping, pieces from 5-10 years ago, vintage pieces they were talking about as well. So pre-loved, I was guessing, from back in the day. So it piqued my interest. And as someone personally who hasn't shopped the archives for a number of years now, never find them very exciting. I never find the discounts that high either. They're kind of old season pieces that just keep coming back. Once you've shopped one archives, I feel like you see the same repeat pieces that just don't sell coming back year and year again. So it kind of loses its excitement, I think, as the years go on. But even so, as someone who doesn't shop the archives, I was interested in this. As someone who was an old Sézane lover, you know, I feel like you can kind of categorize people into the old Sézane lovers, the OGs, the people that have been around with the brand for maybe 8+ years at this point, and the people who are more new to the brand and don't necessarily know what it was like pre-2022, I'm gonna say. So as an old Sézane lover, I think many of us were really excited at the chance to shop older collection pieces, pieces from years gone by, maybe pieces we missed out on originally, maybe pieces that were from even before we discovered the brand, and even newer customers, I'm guessing, were excited at that opportunity too, pieces that they didn't manage to get their hands on because they weren't around, they hadn't discovered the brand yet. So I logged on Tuesday 21st, and I didn't have to stay up till 3 a.m. like many people in other parts of the world, in the US, etc. I logged on at 7:30, 8:30, and I saw just a load of regular archive pieces. By this point, we'd already had a couple of summer archives drops, so there was already stuff that I'd seen in the archives that had been released in previous weeks. And when I logged on looking for these vintage pieces, these one-of-a-kind pieces, these really old pieces, special pieces, I was really disappointed. There was nothing that I could see really that was any different to any other summer archives drop. It was the same suspects that I'd seen year after year. I'd seen a couple of weeks back when the archives first dropped this summer. And yeah, there wasn't anything different about them. There were definitely a lot of items available. So maybe they had dropped more stock, but it almost felt like a, let's try and get rid of this. How are we gonna finally sell this stuff once and for all? Because this stuff we still haven't managed to get rid of after years of promoting it in the archives. I know, we'll do a special 20 years of archives event, hype it up, get people really excited, and we'll finally manage to push this stock and move on. That's what it kind of felt like to me. And the other qualm I had with this, and I wasn't the only one, I saw other people talking about this, 20 years of archives is a real stretch, in my opinion. It is all marketing hype, because Sézane was founded in 2013, which, if you can do the basic maths, was 13 years ago. Now, I know in fairness, Morgan started before the brand. She started, I think, selling vintage pieces, one-of-a-kind pieces, so maybe she started that 20 years ago, although I have my questions about that as well. Did she actually start that in 2006? If you know, let me know down below, because I feel like it was later than that, but maybe I'm wrong. But even so, I feel like connecting it with Sézane as a brand is a little bit of a marketing gimmick, because really it hasn't been 20 years. It hasn't even been close to 20 years. It made me laugh, especially because I remember back in 2023, at the beginning of 2023, they did a big marketing push about them being 10 years old. It was all 10 years of Sézane. I will put the screenshots of the newsletters if I can find them. 10 years of Sézane, a new era of Sézane, what we've achieved in the next 10 years, where we're going in the last 10 years, sorry, where we're going in the next 10 years. It was such a big deal, and it was fair enough, because they were founded in 2013, it was 2023, so it made sense. But to then 3 years later be pushing this 20 years of archives, 20 years of Sézane thing, just felt really disingenuous to me, really inauthentic, and a complete marketing lie. It wasn't correct. And it just felt like a way for them to finally get rid of this really old stock that they've been trying to sell off for a number of years now. The only thing different I could see in this particular archives drop was that there were a couple of pieces like the Clyde coat. I saw the Clyde, I think, in the green and in the black. So I don't think in the really classic colours like the beige, but the slightly more unusual colours like the green and the black were part of the archives this time around, which doesn't usually happen. Pieces that are, you know, their staples, part of their core collection, don't usually go into the archives. So that was a little bit different maybe, but none of the vintage pieces, nothing really interesting that I hadn't seen before was available. So it was very underwhelming. And I definitely wasn't the only one who thought this. I saw plenty of posts, and it wasn't just on Reddit, which can be quite critical. It was on their Instagram comments and probably their TikTok as well. People saying, what was that? I woke up at 3 a.m. for nothing. This is like the, you know, the final warehouse clearance sale of Sézane. This is not exciting at all. So there were a lot of disappointed people, and I think that very much sparked this backlash that we've been seeing, that's been carrying on over the last few weeks. So why did they actually do this? Why did they push this 20 years of archives so much and so suddenly? It kind of came out of nowhere. Well, I do think it was to try and get rid of some of that stock that's been hanging around for years and make it seem more exciting than it actually was. But also, apparently, according to some letters I've seen online, I think an email that circulated, there was a newsletter by Morgan herself saying that August 23rd is going to be a Sézane rebrand. They're doing away with the old Sézane and they're bringing in a fresh new Sézane, whatever that means. So I think this is part of building the hype for that, selling off these older pieces, these just pieces that haven't sold, part of the old Sézane, the pre-August 23rd Sézane, and ushering in this new era for the brand. And it was probably a good way to build hype for that. It's definitely got us talking. It's got me making a video on this. People now know that August 23rd something is coming, even if they don't know what that is. And people will be waiting and anxiously looking at the website, I imagine, in anticipation for whatever this rebrand might be. But I definitely think it's got some of us, especially us OG Sézane lovers, a little bit concerned. This is how it started. This is how the new Sézane started, with this just disingenuous, inauthentic sale. What is that saying for how Sézane are going to move forward? And why is this rebrand happening now of all times? There's definitely been some rumours. I've seen people suggesting that maybe Morgan is stepping down as CEO and that's why they're choosing to rebrand now. I don't know, that's just a rumour, but I would be interested to hear what you think. Why is the rebrand coming now? Are they selling off more of the brand to private equity? Obviously, I think private equity already have a majority stake in the brand, if I'm correct. Are they selling off the rest of it? And this is what's happening. This is why the changes are happening. Is Morgan stepping down? Are they just wanting to attract a fresh new audience, appeal more to Gen Z? I think that's part of it. But yeah, I would be interested to hear your thoughts. The next piece of controversy happened soon after, and that is the new label. So not only are Sézane ushering in this new brand, but they have redesigned as part of it their label, which has been around for quite a while now, for many years, and is quite synonymous with the Sézane brand. It doesn't look like your typical clothing label, especially from a mid-range brand or a fast fashion brand. It's very whimsical, the cursive writing, it's very Parisian and romantic. It looks different to your H&M, your Zara, your Madewell, those kind of brands. It's a bit more interesting, a little bit more unique, very feminine feeling. I really liked it. I thought the branding around Sézane was always excellent and really encapsulated that French girl feeling that the brand are trying to deliver, especially to millennials. I think it really appealed. But they have now changed that and they've gone with this new logo, this new label. As you can see, it is much more minimal. It's much more simple, it's capitalized, it's slightly bolder. I feel again, it's a little bit more Gen Z and less millennial. And overall, as a millennial, I don't like it. I think it doesn't represent what I fell in love with from the brand. I think I fell in love with that whimsical, romantic, feminine air that Sézane had that felt different to all of the Scandinavian, quite masculine, androgynous clothing that we had in the early to mid 2010s. I feel like it stood out in that respect, and it really catered to that feminine aesthetic, which I felt was lacking in the 2010s for sure. Whereas this feels, again, it feels much more androgynous, it feels much more simple, pulled back, less romantic, less flowery. It looks much more comparable, let's face it, to a Zara logo now, to that kind of font that you see at a lot of mid-range brands and a lot of fast fashion brands. Much less unique anyway. What do you think about the new logo? Do you like it? Do you loathe it? I know change is always hard, so maybe I will come around to it. Maybe I will get used to it. I know a lot of the time that people hate change regardless of whether it's good or bad. So we'll have to see how it ages, but on first impressions, I don't like it. And it worries me, it makes me nervous about what other changes could be coming to the aesthetic and the style and the branding of Sézane as a whole. Something that worries me even more though than the label is the comments I've seen recently about the changes to the actual items of clothing. So very recently I've seen a couple of posts, people receiving the Bobby jacket, which is part of the Sézane core collection. It's been out for a few years now. It's the shorter version of the classic Clyde trench, but they've been receiving a slightly different version to what they expected when they ordered it online. And basically they have stripped out the checkered lining on the Bobby, the checkered lining that made those trench coats feel so Sézane, that made them stand out from their fast fashion counterparts, that made them feel justified in their £240 price tag or whatever it costs these days. I am truly baffled by this creative decision, and I can't think of any other reason other than cost cutting that they would choose to remove arguably the best bit, the most unique part of this jacket, especially at the price point it is. It now just looks like a jacket you would buy in Zara, but it's 200 and something pounds. So explain that. I honestly am baffled they've done this. And I presume with doing it with the Bobby, I haven't seen a new Clyde, but I presume that the checkered lining is gonna go from the Clyde and the Carter as well, all of those trench style jackets. Honestly, so disappointing, and it's definitely going to make the old versions more highly sought after on the secondhand market. But why they would do this, why they would change something that adds so much personality and, you know, pizzazz to an otherwise quite simple piece, I just don't see it appealing to as many people that way. I get that, you know, minimal style, people want things that are pared back a lot of the time, but I feel like the checkered lining was subtle enough. It was on the inside, you just saw flashes of it when you were moving or on the cuffs, that it appealed to a lot of people, and I feel like it was definitely copied by a lot of fast fashion brands. But yeah, now the jacket just looks boring and plain and like any other jacket you would see at any other fast fashion brand. Another thing I thought was bad, which I have seen Sézane do this before, I've had my own experiences of this, but they didn't apparently update the description on the website to say that the checkered lining wasn't there. So people ordered this jacket thinking it was the original Bobby. I'm not sure whether they updated the photos or not, but the description said it still had the checkered lining, and when they received the item, the checkered lining was gone. If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna make changes to a product like that, you need to update your website, you need to update your description, because people are ordering that, people are spending their own money on that and not receiving the item that they're advertised. So that was another thing that rubbed me up the wrong way. There have definitely been some other rumours circulating. I saw some posts that Morgan was opening a hotel in Paris, like a Sézane branded hotel or just her own hotel. So maybe that explains why she might be stepping down from Sézane, who knows? I also noticed there was an article, I think, about a new flagship in Paris that was going to be a little bit more, I don't know, an eclectic experience, selling Sézane obviously, but also selling like vintage pieces, books maybe, homewares, that kind of thing. So one of those stores that kind of has a little bit of everything, which is obviously definitely different to any of their stores so far. So let me know if you have any more info on any of that, because I couldn't find too much and I'm not too familiar with those, but I've definitely seen those rumours floating about. What do you think about the changes happening at Sézane? Are you enthused? Are you keeping an open mind? Or are you quietly dreading August 23rd? And are you thinking this is going to be a change for the worse? Because I can honestly, with all of these changes, it honestly makes me fear that Sézane is only going one way, and that is downhill on a track straight to fast fashion. It feels like they are getting much more generic, they are getting much more fast paced, which they have been over the last few years, but this is almost like a signalling to everyone, we are changing. And that old romantic Sézane that you loved, that brought out these beautiful slow fashion collections, is well and truly dead. Now, I would love to be proven wrong. I am not the biggest Sézane hater, despite what people think, and I would love and hope that the ethos behind Sézane remains the same, and that slow fashion, beautifully crafted Sézane that we have grown to love stays the same, but I'm doubtful. I'm not very optimistic at this point, but I would love to hear what you think about all of this. I've definitely seen some I'm done with Sézane posts recently. Someone saying they're in a new chapter and they're deleting the Sézane app and they're closing that book. But let me know what you think. Are you going to be keeping an open mind? Are you maybe excited for a refresh of the brand? Do you think they need it? I think they did have a bit of a rebrand in 2018, I was reading. They changed some of the logos then and they had a little bit of a refresh, but nothing quite this extreme has ever happened from memory. I think this is really, they're putting a line in the sand between the old Sézane and the new, and I'm skeptical about what that might hold. Don't be shy with your comments and your opinions down below. I would be really interested if you have any more information that I don't, if you know something I don't, or if you just want to vent your thoughts about all of these changes. I would love to hear from you. Let's get a discussion going. Thank you so much to Linjer for sponsoring this video. Of course, I will leave my pieces linked down below, as well as my discount code. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye.